We're just going to give you a definition of karma from the laws of the universe as we understand them to be. There is this vibrational basis from which you attract. Let's just call it karma. If you need to use the word, that's what it is. Are you attracting from past lifetimes? No, because you don't have a vibrational frequency about your past lifetimes. But you might have beliefs that you've picked up along this physical trail about that, and so that could be affecting your vibration. This is the distinction that you're looking for. We're explaining to you that your inner being is pure positive energy. No resistance in that vibration. And when you have what you call your death experience, you will reemerge into that pure positive energy, and you'll leave all doubt and fear and everything that you call negative emotion. You'll leave it behind, because it's only here in this physical world that it's even active in your vibration. So when you reemerge into non-physical, you're pure positive energy. And when you return, it's pure positive energy. Karma implies that you took some of that stuff with you and you're still working it out, and you've decided that you're going to be born again and work it out. Absolutely not. You left that bad attitude with your dead body. And you reemerged into pure positive energy, and it's from that stance that you returned. There's this kind of karma. I am the creator of my own experience, and I've known this from the beginning of my beingness. And I eagerly stand sometimes in a non-physical stance where I intend to come into the physical experience to explore and become more. There's that, if you want to call it intentionality. You can't get it done, and you can't get it wrong. And so how could there be that? What that is, that's an explanation that came from people who were not under the influence of source when they cooked it up. It's the same way that a lot of you feel. It's easy to understand when you want more than anything for life to go well for you, and it isn't going well. So you stand in that state of confusion. Why isn't life going better for me? And then you make stuff up to explain it. Well, I must be bad, or I must have been born under the wrong star, or I must have been really bad in a past life, or it's my mother's fault. You make up so many things. And the reason in any point in time that things aren't going well for you is because you're focused in opposition to what you want. You've got active in your vibrational frequency, active vibration about what you don't want, so you're attracting what you don't want instead of what you do want. That's all that it is, you see. Let's say that there's a student in school, and this student does really well a lot of the time, but for whatever reason, he's off on the wrong foot this day and not feeling good. And so he makes a choice that isn't a good choice. Then parents or teachers want to hold him to that. And all it was just a disconnection in the moment, but they make more of it by now giving him this mark or this label or this expectation, you see. And these negative expectations, this is what we want you to hear about however it is you're approaching karma. Negative expectations are never carried on by non-physical or by your inner being. They are always the negative byproduct of man's disconnected thought. And so is the devil, and so is evil, and so is all of that stuff that you push against. There's only one stream, and it's a stream of well-being which you are allowing or you're not allowing in the moment, and you can tell what you're doing by the way you feel. That's all. You are a pure positive energy being. You see, as humans, you've gotten so used to categorizing each other and putting each other in different levels and hoping that you're in the right level, but worrying about everybody else who surely can't be. And then you want to assign some arbitrator the responsibility of judging you and defining you and giving you these blessings and these benefits or these curses and these condemnations. And all of that is man's mixed up approach to life. None of that is real except that as man has conjured it to be. Well-being is dominant. It always has been, and it always will be. And think about how these thoughts feel. Yuck. There's someone who's decided that I'm not appropriate, and now I can't do anything about it because it happened to past life, and so now I just have to live out the negative ramifications of whatever I lived before that I don't remember. Who makes this stuff up? We'll tell you who makes it up. People who are unhappy while they're making it up. People who are not tuned in, tapped in, turned on. That's who's making that up. But you can't all of a sudden take everything that you've believed and just believe differently suddenly. But here's what we wish for you. We want you to feel the wholeness of who you are. We want you to allow the love that your inner being feels for you to be something that you reach for and find often. Because after a little while, as you begin deliberately calibrating yourself to the vibration of source, and the well-being is raining down around you like it always is, but you're letting more of it in, what begins to happen is you begin to feel so blessed that you know for sure by your own positive point of attraction and letting it in, that that stuff that you've been hearing about all those other things cannot possibly be true. You just feel the absolute blessedness of your own beingness and the love that source has for you, and you're returning love to that. And it's not long before you can tell right away how off that is, and how on that is, and how off that is, and how on that is, you see. You are extensions of source energy, and you're in these physical bodies with great reason and with great relish. You've said, I want to be a part of the physical co-creating in this time and space, because there's nothing more delicious than being introduced into a diverse environment that evokes within me lifetimes of desire. And so I chose this time and this place because it's the leading edge where there is more diversity than ever before. I understood from my non-physical vantage point when I decided to leap in. I know from my non-physical perspective that the most leading edge environment is the environment with the most diversity. Whew, did you hear that? Not sameness, but opportunities, choices. So I chose this leading edge time because the leading edge, the furthermost outward reaches of creation, always contain the most asking, the most opportunities, the most diversity. And I jumped in knowing that it was a plethora of variety and choices. I jumped in eagerly, enthusiastic about what would occur to me, how life would touch me, and what it would inspire me to want to know. I understood that at all levels of my being, desire would be stirred up within me. I knew I would be asking for small things and big things, and things that felt easy to me and things that felt hard to me. I knew that I would launch rockets of desire, many of them unconsciously, even at a cellular level, and many of them consciously at an awareness of what life has caused me to ask for. But I wanted the launching of those desires because I understood that step one would be the most natural consequence of me being focused in this leading edge. And I wanted those desires to burn bright within me, knowing full well that many of those desires, as they were launched, I wouldn't have an understanding of how to find them. I wanted them to be within me. I wanted that calling and that asking to be within me. And I wanted it to be substantially enough, and often enough within me that when I found a way to soften the resistance, that I would recognize the relief of it. I wanted the diversity because most of all, I wanted to introduce to myself once again in a even more leading edge way. I wanted to understand my guidance system, because while I'm leaping in to this physical experience, I understand I'm not going to remember the environment from which I leapt. I know that the existence of my inner being still exists, but I'm not going to have recognition of that because I can't be asking the question and receiving the answer at the same time. Sound familiar? And I wanted to be a strong asker for more right from the beginning of my life experience in this physical body. I jumped in and I explored the data and I launched the rockets, and I knew that in doing that I would reintroduce to myself, because I know that the deepest memory that I have of all is the memory of well-being. I knew that with just a little bit of diversion from the pure positive energy from which I came, that I would recognize that somehow something was off in that. And I knew that when I knew that something was off, I would be asking for something to be right. I knew that I would be asking for the improvement, and I knew it would be a natural thing. I knew I didn't need a teacher. I didn't need someone to point it out. I knew that my own life experience, my exposure to the perfection of the diversity in this environment would bring forth from me asking that would take me beyond that which it had ever been before. And further, I knew that I would remember my guidance system, because innately we all know that good feels good and something that isn't as good does not feel as good. I was so eager about reintroducing myself to my guidance system, because without conscious awareness of my guidance system, I knew that I wouldn't know which end was up. I knew that there would be lots of factions and lots of beliefs and lots of people pulling this way and that. And I knew that my happiness could only be when I was really true to who I am, because I know most of all that I am a continuous being. I know that I'm an eternal being, that I'm looking for more exposure to more life, to go beyond that which I've been before. And I knew that I would be in an environment where there would be billions of others who are doing the same thing. And I knew that it would be life-giving. Most of all, I knew that it would be exciting. I knew that it would be delicious. I knew that it would be a pleasurable experience. So here I am, with all of the step 1 happening naturally and all of the step 2 happening naturally, because I knew the source energy was going to be right there. I knew from my vantage point when I decided to come into this body that source energy would remain as source energy, and I knew that it would always be my backup, my support. I knew that it would always be there for me. And I also knew that I wouldn't remember that consciously, but that I would recognize it when I found it again. And I knew that in order to ask the big questions, I had to separate myself a little bit from all of the big answers. I knew if I came as someone who had all of the answers, I wouldn't be asking any questions. So the separation was not something that accidentally happened to me. It was something that I really wanted to happen to me. I wanted to have exposure to life that would cause me to ask for more, because I am an eternal being, and I wanted to consciously perpetuate the eternalness of that which I am. Jumped in, and it all happened naturally. The contrast caused me to ask. I filled my vortex full of all kinds of things, and then I began to become aware of my own guidance system. I began to feel what feels good and what doesn't feel good. I began to associate this thought with this feeling and this thought with this feeling, until the clarity of my desire to really understand, not only to understand for myself, but to be a teacher of others who also want to understand, sort of kicked in. And then I began to attract to myself a steady path of unfolding that helped me to know the absolute laws of the universe and how they function. And what a magnificent moment that was, when I began to realize that there is a plan and there is a path and there is a pattern. There is something that is understandable and teachable. We're not just all thrown here together in a sort of chance fashion, that there are laws of the universe that are definable, that are knowable and are teachable, that I can understand and apply. And I am thrilled that I have found my way into this knowing. I love thought. I love the dynamics of thought. I love the response of thought by the law of attraction. I love the momentum that focus provides. I love the emotional response that focus provides. I love knowing what my emotions mean. I love knowing what my inner being knows. I love being the leading edge vantage point for my inner being. I love taking my inner being to places that my inner being has never been before. And most of all, I love asking the big question and then tuning to the vibrational place that will allow me to receive the big answer in full, manifested, turning thoughts to things fashion. I'm glad to be alive in my physical body, and I'm glad to be alive in my non-physical body. I'm glad to know the eternal nature of my being, and most of all, I am so happy that I now understand that it is all for the joy of life. That there's nothing that's broken, that nothing's gone wrong. It's for the joy of this life experience. That the love of that source energy or God or whatever you want to call it is the real deal. That there is pure, positive love that I am capable of tapping into or not. And that God who always loves me does not condemn me when I choose not to tap into it. That the radiance of that energy doesn't stop just because I've not found my way to it in any moment in time. It's always there for me to find my way back to.